Welcome to Noakh Talk. I'm your host, William Hall, broadcasting live out of Kingston, Texas, USA, with another episode of Monday Memoirs, the testimonials of ex-preachers, pastors, teachers, etc., who have left the church. And so tonight I want to welcome you, or today, depending on where you're at, welcome to you, James Fields, a.k.a. Bnei Noakh on Facebook, for you, all those who are interested in reaching out. I'll have his information up shortly. So, James, thank you so much for joining us here. It's going to be, I always love having testimonies because it really helps other people understand things that maybe they're overlooking, or maybe to help them become more comfortable in their questioning their whole position in life. So,
Sure.
welcome. You'd like to introduce yourself?
Just love you guys. I mean, it's just a blessing to have you, because this conversion just started a couple months ago, and
Wow.
I was just confused, and I had problems with Christology, and I just prayed. I asked the Lord for wisdom, and bam! I mean, I'm on YouTube, which I just have never gone to. I don't have, nothing, and I can't even tell you how I got to Noakh Talk and you and Tovia. I can't tell you. All of a sudden, I'm there.
Wow.
And it's changed everything.
And you're married, right?
Yes.
So are you and your wife? Did y'all come along at the same time, or are y'all on the same page now?
Well, we watched Tovia last night. Both
cool.
of you. We watched 3 shows, and I was actually trying to find some shows that we could relate to our parents with. We're trying to figure out how to reach out. We've reached out to a few friends. 2 of them at first really shunned us,
Right.
but they seem to have kind of come around. He's like, come on over, but I don't want to talk about it.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. Absolutely.
Right. So then last night I sat down with the wife because she had questions, but she doesn't study. I mean, I have studied and I read all the time. I have a job that allows me to take breaks in between. I drive a bus and I own my own company, and so I have time to read. So I carry my Bible, and I'd carry my iPad, and I had an iPod, and just listening and always, putting in God's word. I was just putting in the wrong one. And so last night
That's funny.
We sat down again, and I mean, she has been kind of desperate, and it's kind of freaked her out. Her parents were here, and they left. We didn't say anything to them. We've taken down everything inside the main room except for Joshua 24:15. For me and my house, we will serve the Lord above our front door. That's always been there. I took down everything else, and they didn't even ask. They didn't even notice. But she was. We sat down and we watched 3 shows with Tovia, and she was 3 shows I picked out that I thought would be the best for somebody coming along.
Right.
And she was just literally convinced that where we've been going, but it's been a struggle for her. She wasn't raised like I was. I was raised as a young child with Christian parents, adopted, and she wasn't. Her mother didn't take her to the church for a long time. And then she's finally started going to the church, but it was really, she's like, wow.
So so her parents, have they come to your house a lot, or this was like just a one-time visit?
No, they live just in Orlando. We're in Cocoa Beach, Florida, Sunshine State. So they
visit you a lot?
Yeah, we go there.
Okay, so let me tell you something. Rest assured, they noticed. I guarantee you they noticed. Man, it does not take much sliding of the hand at all, and they notice. I guarantee you. They may not have said nothing, but I guarantee you they noticed, which is good, because if they did notice, then now you've got possibility of them asking you questions next time, and that's when you can let them know a little bit, if you're feeling up to it. So,
our entire bookcase, we have a massive bookcase, and everything in it was DVDs, CDs, books, Jesus's life. I mean, you name it. All of it is going away. We've turned everything around.
That's awesome.
Until we get this sorted out, and what we're doing. I mean, it's we're still in this holiday thing, but so we're getting rid of it. And they didn't say anything. Right? You're probably right. They did notice, but they didn't ask.
Right.
Yeah. And so her dad has got this ginormous lit up Jesus sign on the front of his house.
Wow.
And so at some point, she thinks her dad would be more receptive to it. He's fallen away from the church himself.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah. they have stopped going to church, and they were just doing church at home.
How long ago?
So,
Now, do you find any connection in their timing of not going to church and y'all's timing of being curious about things?
no, they haven't probably been going to church. I would guess maybe probably close to a year. It's 8, 9, 10 months at least.
Man,
That
they may be closer to where you're at than you might think, in the
right.
sense of their open-mindedness. Man, you're in a great spot right now. That's amazing.
Then my father, who's 82 years old, reads the Bible 2 hours a day, every day, mostly the New Testament.
Right,
And
of course.
that'd be a completely different story. I mean,
Yeah.
at this point, we go to I've asked Hashem to, we still go. We're going to a synagogue that's near us now.
Right.
And but my schedule, I can't go all the time. And actually, the synagogue says they have more Benoakhs coming in,
Right. Bnei
right
Noakh,
off the street,
Right.
than
Gotcha.
than Jews themselves. So that's a really cool blessing. And,
Yeah. That means that the world's eyes are being opened, and that's really good.
Sure.
Man, that's
Sure.
amazing. So tell
And
me,
then
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No. You go right ahead. Finish your story. That was interesting.
Where was I at?
You were talking about your dad and how there's the chances
Oh,
of him
right.
is not
Yeah,
so much.
my dad I know I got off on the synagogue, but my dad, he's 82 years old, and he raised me into this, and he's been on it, always the deacon of the church, worked in the church, worked for Christ.
So your bloodline, your male bloodline is actually people who were church workers of some sort.
Right. Well, I was adopted, so I have because of this, I've connected with Ancestry.com.
Okay.
I went through a company called OmniTrace. I don't recommend them, but I did find out that my mother was originally from Hungary, which had there was a lot of Jewish heritage in Hungary in the 50s and 60s. So
right.
It'll be interesting to find out because
Sure.
I was adopted, so I don't know. I know
That's
I was born in Florida.
Right. But your dad, for sure was he was a deacon in the church too. So,
Oh my goodness, yeah.
at what? So how young were you when you knowledgeably, when I say knowledge, intellectually took that yoke of Jesus and became a full-blooded Christian, dedicated to working in church and things like that, roughly?
Well, we always, being raised like every Wednesday, my parents were amazing people. We loved everybody. And
That's
I just
good.
never understood, the animosity towards anybody, let alone just the Jews. And I've heard now as this transition, a lot of anti-Semitism stuff. And I don't have that. It's just never was in me to do that. We always loved everybody. But then in 1974, I was at the Baptist church and I sang in the choir. And my mother grew up. My mother was in the choir. My dad worked in the church. Work. Every Wednesday, we didn't eat. We took that food and gave it to the church to give to people to eat. So like every Wednesday growing up, we didn't eat.
Wow, that's awesome.
We fasted. I mean, my parents were amazing people. They're just missing one part of the puzzle.
Misled, yeah, right.
The same thing I was missing, and it just, like I said, I kept putting the puzzle together, and you think the pieces fit, and it just didn't fit. And I needed that niche, But my dad didn't go through seminary, so he didn't study, and where I did, and it was just for me, it was study, and learn, and. I watched Tovia, and I'm gonna tell you what. I mean, I thought I was switched on. He's like, and you complimented him the other night, saying, just amazing how somebody can say something and pow, he is just so on the scripture, not looking anything up.
Right.
And that's So I thought I was on it, but I wasn't on it. And every time I kept going, the wheels just kept coming off the Jesus train, and we're finally just completely derailed for us. But I sang in the choir with the Baptist church. We traveled every year. We'd go up to New York City. We'd travel to churches all along the way. We'd stay in their homes. We went to camps.
Missionaries, basically.
We brought people to Christ. I mean, we'd be singing right on the stage. I can still see it. And people were coming to Christ through our voices of singing worship and praise music.
Mm-hmm. Right. Wow. So how old were you when you... How long? Oh, you said it was just recently where you just now saw some issues, like this past 3 months or so.
Well, Well, within the last couple of months, I've been listening to Tovia and you and to Not Talk, and I created Noakh on Facebook to try to connect with people. I never even knew Noakh even existed, and I've got the Seven Gates of the Righteous Knowledge over here. I've got Let's Get Biblical 1 and 2. I got a book from James Woods Jr. Leaving Jesus. That one was recommended with Tovia's stuff, and he actually talks about Tovia's stuff in that book. So it's really just been the last couple months where the whole thing is just completely off the track, in the ditch. We've got a problem, and and I had to just get after this thing and figure it out, because I want to go the right way. I've always known there was truth. I always thought I was on the truth train, but I was not on the truth train.
Right. Gotcha. When did you actually start feeling like you were drawn to teach others, like in the church, and be part of that? Has it always been there?
My mother wanted me to. I joined the Navy when I got out of high school, and kind of left the church behind. He got in the Navy. I could tell you a lot of sailor stories, and actually went to Jerusalem then. I did a med cruise in the Navy, and doesn't have the meaning that I know it would have now for me. And in fact, the wife and I have talked about a couple of times actually taking a trip there, which I'm super glad we didn't, because then it would have been that would have been on the Jesus train. So super, because now it's going to take on an entirely different meaning to go there. And really have to rethink. I tell you, it's been a lot of work. So when I got out, my mom thought I would be a chaplain, and that didn't come to fruition. My life I was like that. Once saved, you're saved, you're done, you're in the kingdom. It doesn't matter, even though Paul's like, should we go on sinning? No, we should not. And but I don't. I can't tell you. I probably wasn't the best example in a lot of ways.
That's
but,
okay.
I always tried to be a good person. Those things my parents instilled in me, and some of the stuff was in there. But I didn't pray, and a lot of things just fell apart until later on in life. I got into my 20s and mid 20s later on. Finally got married and had in my 30s, early 30s. And had a kid, and that's when it started to settle down. But unfortunately, that my wife, she was Catholic, and that thing took we had agreed on non-denominational, and as soon as the ink wasn't even dry, and we were like, we're going to the Catholic Church. I was like, I had no idea.
That's funny, because that was kind of our background a little bit. So interdenominational, denominational, and Catholic. So
it actually pushed us apart, and then in the Bible it says, don't marry somebody, don't be unequally yoked.
Right.
And that's why we had kind of talked about it. So we went through a non-denominational marriage and then agreed. But then because of her parents, super strict Catholic, she was raised, she's like, well, we got to go. And that's a scary place.
So it sounds question. Like if her parents were super strict, like my wife herself was an incredibly strict Catholic. I mean, she never missed mass, and up until she met me. But anyway, point being, my wife became very dedicated, as far as it. So was your wife also not just doing it because they wanted to, but did she take it that seriously also, her Catholicism? Or was she not? She was like maybe trying to unplug a little bit.
Well, I don't know how Catholics are trained to study and observe, and for me, it kind of just pushed me away from the whole thing. And of course, our marriage completely, collapsed, and we were divorced, and now the Lord's put me with, my wife Trina now, and she's an amazing woman, and love her dearly, and we were on the Jesus train, so. At least we were, going in the same direction, even though when it first started out, it was very difficult. Her life was difficult. Mine was in a difficult place. And then I just felt, you guys have had people on the show going, Jesus talked to me. And, I just said, the Lord, was like, you need to, our family was falling apart with Trina and her kids. And one Sunday, I just found myself driving around with all of us trying to find a church. We need a church, just to try to keep it together, because that whole thing was falling apart. There is something to say for it, but Sure. It was the wrong church. You know, you get on the right train and you get on with Hashem and the one true God, everything will be fine.
Right. You know, so many people try to give credit to the church or to Jesus or to whatever, give them the credit for their recoveries of whatever that might be, either broken heart or mended families, whatever the case may be. But in essence, it has nothing to do with that at all. It has to do with what you believe. If you believe, I give this example often. There was a prank pulled on a poor family, husband and wife, and they were real bitter and stuff, and they thought it would be kind of cute to give them a fake lottery ticket for $100,000. And it was a fake lottery ticket, but it looked legit, right? Thinking about the Jesus story. It looks legit, but it's fake, right? It's not real. I mean, okay, anyway. So anyway, she gets this ticket, and next thing you know, she scratches it off, and all of a sudden she went from this angry person. She instantly changed instantaneously because she believed in something that was going to set her free. And the thing with Jesus is they still believe Jesus is going to set them free. And it's not Jesus doing that change in them. It's themselves doing the change because of what they chose to believe in. So likewise, and I don't think that they really understand that. You know, they think that, you know, I got off drugs because Jesus set me free. No, he didn't set you free. You believed that he was going to, you know, give you a piece of candy when you were done. And that's, you know, this whole eternity in heaven thing. And it's like, and I don't mean to shun that. That's not my point. But the point being, you know, our power of belief is what changes us. You know what I mean? So that's why there's so much of it that's actually put on our own shoulders. You know,
right?
So
I agree. There is something to be said for, just like Tovia said. I mean, Christian people are authentically good. You know, they're nice people. I mean, they have something. I mean, I know he had a show where they talked about, the witness called, and I saw that particular show just recently, and he's like, well, we don't believe in Jesus, so are we okay? And of course, you know, it's like run from that building. But, you know, so some people, they have some of it. I mean, there's some of, as much as they've twisted, and the crime scene that, you know, Tovia says is in the New Testament, they have taken some of the Hebrew words and put them in the New Testament. So there's some of it, but like you said, it's just fake once you scratch it off. I mean, if you really scratch it off and you dig in, because as many times as I've studied the infant narrative and the cross, and how many times I've talked to people about the guy that was on the left and that he was going to heaven, and the other guy that wasn't, is just like, just never put the pieces together. Until, like, I sit and listen to Tovia, and I got Let's Get Biblical and that book by James Woods, and then you really start comparing to find out and the debates I've seen that are on YouTube. There's some other rabbis, and he's like, man, if one thing is wrong, that just starts a fire. We take that, rip that out, and throw that away. And and that's the New Testament. I mean, without question, it's everywhere. And I've listened to some super prolific, amazing pastors, huge mega churches, and I've met them, and I've gone out of my way because I'm like, man, he's on it. And he did a thing about God writing a book, and he only brought up, he was like, only a couple contradictions. And I'm like, now I read Leaving Jesus, and like, I want to mail him a copy because his church completely collapsed. He's completely booted out. I've got his P.O. box, and you know, and I'm just like, you know, this is why your church failed, because it wasn't the truth. You thought it was the truth, but when you start digging deep down, the wheels just came right off. The train, the Jesus train, is done. And it's done for him 30 plus years. Wow. Done.
So what was the tipping point for you? What particular storyline or verse or contradiction or whatever it was? What was the first thing or the main thing that caused you to say, that's it, we're done?
Well, let me see. I mean, there was a lot of things in the last probably year and a half. I have books, and I've written notes, and I've had my Bible in hand, and I'm like, this, you know, Jesus is here. Genesis 3:15 was probably my biggest ones, where they say he'll bruise his head and bruise his heel. And they're like, you know, these pastors would be like, there's Jesus. He's right there. He's at the beginning. Who created the world? The whole congregation. Jesus, you know, it was all Jesus. It's like, you know, Tovia said, you can get a counter. I mean, it's Jesus. He did it all. And I just started digging, and I actually have sitting up here is I ran over to the Jewish store down the street. I kept going backwards in Bibles and trying to find something older. I have a lot of newer Bibles, and I kept moving. I grew up with the Revised Standard Edition, and started to see a lot of problems with that, and just kept going back and back and back. And I ended up with the easy read King James 1611. In fact, they lie. They say that is Matthew that wrote that book, but you'll go to another book and it says we don't know who the author is. I mean, They can't even get it right.
Right.
And so finally, I was just confused. I mean, really just confused. And I kept writing things down, and I would express it to my wife. And she's like, you're kind of creeping me out. What on earth are you saying? And I said, well, he's supposed to be everywhere. They said he's in this whole thing, and I just don't see it. How come I'm not seeing it?
Yep.
And
right.
That's when I really, honestly, I prayed for wisdom, and it was within the last 90 days. I have seen more of your shows than people have probably seen in years. And I'm just thankful that I have the ability during the day. I can just throw on YouTube. I've got a Bluetooth speaker box, and while I'm in between runs,
nice.
I just sit and put it on and listen and take notes. And then, I have to shut it off in between and then go back to it. And, I've got 7 hours where I can sit and play them over and over and over again. And then I check it against all sorts. Just like Tovia said, it's not it's not my opinion.
Right.
What's God's opinion?
Right.
That's who we have to. He's the authority, not me. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, I come home and I start checking this stuff, and I'm like, wow. I mean, pure revelation. And so really, it just it changed everything in this house. I mean,
right.
Everything's been changed in this house. Wow, everything's been changed in this house, and it's a big deal. We're trying to figure out somehow next year to get through this and get this through to our parents. I mean, nobody deserves. It's the first commandment, man. Mm-hmm. Nobody deserves. We all deserve a chance, right?
Yep. So if you want those opportunities, my recommendation is just invite them over for dinner a lot and wait for them to ask the questions, because they will. Yeah, like I said, if he was that big, where he's got this huge lit up cross in their front yard or whatever the case may be, there's no doubt that they noticed a scene change in your house, which means it's just a matter of time where you're going to be, delighted with some questions from time to time, and you may be surprised to find out then to go, wow, really? Man, I thought something was kind of weird. Instead of really pushing it off. I mean, most people who are really dedicated church members, the ones that I've seen, usually leave for one of several reasons, but one of those would be, like us, leaving the church because something's just not right, and I'm like, nah, we're going to do this. Some will do that and actually start their own home group because they don't like, the pastor, they don't like the way things are going, they don't like the idea of tithing, the church doesn't belong to the church, blah, blah, blah. So numerous reasons, but it's still a possibility that their eyes may have already been tainted in the right way. So if that's the case, man, that's going to be great for you. That's going to be really good. So just wait.
Well, we hope. I mean, right now I'm still going to the church. My mom passed away in '98. My dad remarried a woman from the church. Her husband had passed away, and my parents got around her, and then my mom passed away. So my dad, she's about 4 years older than my dad, and just the regular stuff. I mean, the pastor's too loud, just stuff like this. Though the air conditioning's blowing on me, but. We have gone to the church since. There's 2 crosses in the whole church, so actually they don't have a lot of stuff up. But
right.
I'm really just ready to get out of there and repent immediately as soon as I walk out, and just hope that I believe that the Lord, He has, He's going to allow this so I can get to my dad. And in the meantime, I just don't want to throw him on him. He is 82 years old, and he's been in his way for a long time, and.
Right.
And the time will come where it'll present itself, but we have gone. Now, we haven't gone for communion. Just that particular day, we missed that one. And my job is I have to work like every other Sunday, so I don't get to even go on the Sunday, and we know it's on the 1st. So like the last time it came around, I had to work, but the wife, she didn't go.
Right.
We weren't doing the, eat my body, drink my blood thing, and then it's. Even though they actually kind of tone that whole thing down now, where he says it's just it's a picture.
Yeah.
Not really. Now my daughter, of course, being Catholic, her when we got divorced, my daughter stayed with her, and she just took her to the Catholic Church all the time. So my daughter actually believes that they put a spell on the bread and the wine, and it becomes
right.
Now I already had that conversation with her outside of this whole thing, that is completely wrong, and but she believes that, and one day I'd like to be able to prayerfully get to her, because she's actually not going to the Catholic Church now, because she's started to, we were going to a non-denominational, so when I had her on weekends, we were going to a non-denominational church, and she liked those better. So she sees something in the Catholic Church that she just does not like at all, and she probably just doesn't even know it. And at some point, we saw her last 2 weeks ago for Thanksgiving. She went to Clearwater to her grandmother's, and we went over there, and I wanted to talk to her about it, but I just felt like it just wasn't the right time, since we only had about 5-6 hours together with her, and we kind of had some things planned. And this is going to take some time. I need Tovia and you guys and to not talk and backup. If I'm going to sit down and talk with somebody about it, it's like, please, be a parachute. And it works when it's open-minded, open heart. And please listen to this, because they can probably explain it better than me. I'll get going and I can preach it, but I may get confusing for some people sometimes.
Right. Well, and it takes a while to kind of get used to things, I know whenever, when we first left the church, at the time I was still in the church, even the Messianic movement, I was a teacher. And so I was constantly posting things on Facebook and teaching lessons on Facebook and doing all this stuff. And once I realized everything I was teaching was a sham, it was all wrong, I literally had to stop completely dead in my tracks and relearn everything. I went probably 6 months, at least 6 months probably, without posting a single thing other than just questions. You know what I mean? And just
I know I created Noakh so I could touch base and look and talk with other people about what was going on and learn this movement and until I find out what my heritage is and where I'm actually from. But it was we still have our Facebook page, but I haven't put anything on.
Right.
And I used to put stuff on, man. Let me tell you, remember the guy in the story where they were dropping the cripple down through the roof to get to Jesus?
Oh yeah.
I'm like, I created these memes, the little memes or whatever, and I put on there. I says, you don't have friends until they tell you about Jesus or try to get you to Jesus or something. And I'm just like, oh, I can't believe these things I put on. And now I just pulled the plug.
Right.
Nobody's actually said anything.
Right.
They've not actually said anything. So I haven't heard any backlash from Facebook, because it was all about Jesus, even on Facebook, on our social page. But
right.
Yeah, love was born in a stable.
Right.
That popped up. I put it on like last year or something, and love was born in a stable, and I was just like, oh my.
Yeah, that's funny. So
repost.
So I finally got the YouTube channel up. If anybody's got any questions, specific questions for our brother here, let me know. I'll try to keep an eye on the YouTube chat. But yeah, just like Alan Edwards says, it's literally like the Matrix, and it's so true. Friend of all of ours, Rabbi Yitzchak Michaelson had a talk show on Israel News Talk Radio with him and Rod Bryant called Into the Matrix. I think it was called. And if you've ever seen the Matrix movie, you can know exactly what they're talking about. Got the thing that looks like reality and then the real reality, and they're so completely opposite. It's just earth shattering. So
right,
yeah.
And in the one reality, he was actually weak and vulnerable, and the other reality, he was strong and invincible.
Yeah, exactly. That's crazy, and I love it. I love the contrast for sure. No doubt about it. So, but anyway, yeah. So I'll put your email address back up there again, just to make sure that everybody's got it in case they want to reach out to you. It's going to
just
be
any advice. I mean, certainly, pray for us. And I've always believed in praying for the lost and the found.
Right.
Just because you've been found doesn't mean you've got it right. We're going to fall, and we got to get back up, and we got to keep moving forward in a positive manner. And now, it's really been interesting though, really ever since seminary. I graduated in 2015, and it was just like the more I studied, I was moving towards the Creator.
Mm-hmm.
I was moving more towards a singular Creator God, because that's what I was finding, and I was learning, and I could see that, especially in Deuteronomy and Isaiah's and all these points in between. There is none other. There is only me. There is nobody else. And I'm like, oh, that's weird, because he didn't say anything. And it's funny because Tovia is like, well, if there's if there's John 3:16 in Numbers someplace, well, we don't in church.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You couldn't find him. And that was
Yeah.
probably one of the struggles. So I was already moving in the path of going towards a singular God.
Mm-hmm.
And, there was nothing. I already was really never into the Trinity, especially the Baptist church really never spoke of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where they don't know. So they just push it off to the side and nobody really speaks about it, and then in the stuff when I preached and studied, a lot of it was the Old Testament stuff because it just felt true.
Mm-hmm.
It just felt true. I look back on it now and I go, well, it just felt right. That's what was right. And then, I started just leaning over to a true monotheistic, because they say Christianity, if you look it up on Wikipedia, that Christianity is monotheistic. It is not.
Right.
At all.
Right.
I mean, it's not even close. They put like Judaism and Christianity on the same line.
Ironically, I like the way that the latest outcome of the view of Christianity is not that they believe even in a Trinity, but they believe in four gods, because they're putting Satan as a ruler over this world as if he is a god also, fighting against our Creator. So it's really, it's definitely not monotheistic. That's for sure. You're right about that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I haven't heard that one, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Right.
I mean, at least, I appreciate the Judaism. I mean, they've been a strong people for a long time. They had their ups and downs, and you can read about it, and but they stayed the path.
Right.
And the ones that are on the path, I mean, just an amazing, Tovia and all these people that I've been starting to see and starting to learn about, and that's just and what they have to do and the rules. I mean, I've read the laws and I've read Leviticus, and it's like, wow. I mean, I just like you look at us as just contemporary people.
Right.
613 laws. I mean, it's just like, how is that even possible? But they just love the Lord and they do it because they believe what He says and He tells them to do it, and that's what they do. And
what's really interesting is on that whole 613 thing. I looked it up one time, and just in 1 year, the U.S. passed 20,000 laws and revisions to laws just in one setting. And probably covered a 10-year span. I'm not really sure, but if you look at it in that dynamic, 600 laws doesn't really seem like that much. If you look at it that way,
no.
Because not all apply to people. Even if you were born Jewish, you still don't have to follow the laws that are regarding a priest or a woman or people outside the land or whatever the case may be. So there's really not 613 laws for every person. So if somebody ever asked you in defense of their Christianity, well, can you follow every single law? And you say, well, no one is supposed to follow all the laws. Let them figure out why.
Right. But with Paul literally abolishes all of that, and and it's funny because out of the mouth of Jesus Himself, He was just like, and the one. Love your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, but never says anything about idolatry. Left that one completely off. It's not even there in the Beatitudes. And it's just like, I went back and referenced some of these things, trying to, correlate between the two, and I'm just like, wow. I mean, it's like they just like made the whole thing like super simple, not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Just believe. And then they say, I've talked to a couple other people, and they're just like, well, it's faith. I got faith. Not even that they believe, but they believe, but saved by grace, Ephesians 2:8-9, saved by grace through faith, so no one can boast.
Right.
And then I've seen some studies that were actually kind of on the contrary in Judaism, that there is work that needs to be done. Mm-hmm. I mean, there is work. It's like the exact opposite. If you just have faith, according to the New Testament, just have faith, believe in Jesus, you're in the kingdom.
Right. The thing that got me was on the greatest of the commandments, right? When he asked, what are the greatest commandments? He said, well, love the Lord your God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. Do these and you fulfill the law, right? So the irony of that is most of the people in the New Testament say they believe in the 10 Commandments. And so, I asked somebody one time, I said, so which of the 10 are these two He's talking about? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and love your neighbor as yourself, right? And so they couldn't pinpoint it. I said, so you tell me there's 12 commandments then, not 10? And so once you get to that point, it kind of makes them go, wait a minute, there's something about that doesn't make sense. So, and hopefully that will be something that will like grow into a seed of doubt enough for them to research it more. So who knows?
Sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, if you're on it, my wife, I mean, she doesn't. I'm like now we're the servant. I saw where when you're married, the man is the servant. I watched a show that you and Tovia did the other day, and the man serves his wife. I mean, so she's kind of playing around with that. But I always felt like she has a lot of work to do, and she just had an operation on her neck and stuff. So I kind of carry the weight of the work of studying and staying in the Word, and like everything in this house, and which is just tons of stuff biblically related.
Mm-hmm.
And now on a whole nother. Now I've got if I'm pronouncing it right, Siddur Lev Shalem.
Mm-hmm. Shalom, right.
It's for Shabbat and festivals, a book.
Right. Yeah.
Because we're doing the Beth Temple.
Right. Gotcha.
So I have this book now. I mean, it's like, and now I've certainly considered wanting to take a Hebrew class, which is like going to be unbelievable. I mean, I thought like Japanese and Chinese was hard with calligraphy.
I'll give you something now that you mentioned that. As soon as this show is over, I've got a Hebrew class I'm fixing to air, and my Hebrew scholar who usually teaches is not available today, so I'm going to do an elementary Hebrew class today. So if you're really interested I'll throw out some points specifically in your direction that might be helpful for you and some others who might be just now turning that page to Hebrew. So,
yeah, well, there was actually a couple free apps which are kind of fun. So they give you like, hello, shalom, hello, and just to learn some of them. But I know there's like delicious taim, because Tovia is always talking about how delicious God's word is, and it truly is. I mean, it was refreshing to buy a Tanakh. I bought a TORAH, and then I bought a Tanakh from the Jewish Publication Society.
Nice.
And based on stuff that was in the show, and he says it's like kissing God through a towel in English. I mean, I kind of get that.
Yeah.
The language is a beautiful language, really. It truly is. And
very true.
And I don't know if I have it in me at 58 years old to learn all of it, but I can certainly give it a shot.
Well, it's definitely easier than you think. In fact, most scholars will tell you Hebrew is probably one of the easiest languages to learn. As crazy as that sounds, yeah. And I tend to agree with it. I mean, I think they said that English is actually supposedly the hardest language. Now, granted, we grew up with it, so it wasn't. But for someone learning it in general, there's so many tenses to different things, and I can't even begin to explain it as good as our Hebrew scholar Gavriel Sanders would do. But yeah, so I think you'll be delighted. It's going to be might be a little bit easier to wrap your head around than you think. So,
well, good. You guys, in fact, on your YouTube channel is Rosen.
Gotcha.
Rosen Hebrew. They come across as an ad.
Oh, gotcha.
Through your show to learn biblical Hebrew.
Nice. Very cool.
They have a couple different types of Hebrew, but they do have specifically biblical Hebrew, where you can do an online course with them and learn at your own pace. Learn biblical Hebrew. So that's something I didn't know if you guys knew who had actually advertised.
Right.
There are actually a couple competitors.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. I've seen those too. I have to. People ask me, because the bad thing is I can't choose who advertises. You can either choose let them monetize or not, but you can't choose who gets to advertise. And and since there's a need to support building funds and things like that, so we have to monetize. So there's just at least something generating outside. I wished I could go and nitpick and say, get that off of here. I don't want that one. But they won't let you censor it. So it's unfortunate. Right. Well, my friend, I tell you what, it's been good. I'm really glad we made this happen today. And, so let your wife go back and watch this thing too. And, who knows, it could be maybe sometime soon your dad or your, they might be open to watching it too, who knows? So that's
we're going to do our best to reach as many people, be the light, not the, in the New Testament, it was, who would take your light and put it under a basket so nobody could see it.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's a lot of prophetic things like Tovia said that are in the New Testament. I just watched a show the other day where he's like, the guy's like, well, is the whole New Testament out? And he's like, no, There's a lot of things in there because they're just prophetic,
right?
Right.
And
that was one of them. And because he says that the Jewish people should be a light to the world. And then, of course, that's in the New Testament because they took it from you guys, and they took it from the Tanakh, and they used it again to try to make it, to try to seamlessly make these work together and be believable. But it's not. The wheels are going to come off, and people need to get on. They need to grab the skirt of a Jew.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. And that's going to happen for sure. All right, brother, man, I appreciate your time. Really, I really do. And I love your story. And I can't wait for it to get out there for everybody to start watching and seeing and sharing. It's live, so people are watching it on about 37 people on YouTube and a handful on Facebook. But hopefully they'll be able to share this video with others as well. And we'll just see what happens, man. Really appreciate your time.
Listen,
yes.
And thank you guys for what you're doing. And, may Hashem bless you and keep you always.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that very much. All right, you guys take care. See you soon. Shalom.
All right.
Shalom.
Okay.
Bye.
Shalom.
תמיד כולם ביחד, חשוב מכל חשוב והכרחי להיות ביחד. איפוק זו העוצמה, ויתור זו הגדולה, השאיפה והכמיהה. אני אתה אתם תמיד כולם ביחד, חשוב מכל חשוב והכרחי להיות ביחד. איפוק זו העוצמה, ויתור זו הגדולה, השאיפה